Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Walking Dead TV podcast. My name is Jordan.
This is Russ.
This is John.
This is Brad.
And we are super excited to discuss the first episode of The Walking Dead on AMC, Days Gone By. So, everybody, before we get into the actual discussion of the episode, what do you think? Were you happy? Just off the top of your heads.
I was ecstatic.
Yeah, I was very pleased. Even after seeing the extra footage that I had seen at the con, this still delivered big time for me.
I can't think of one thing about it that I didn't care for. It was just everything I had hoped it would be and more. I'm very, very happy with it.
Well, you know what? I'm happy that we're all happy because it would really suck to do a podcast on a show that blew.
Yeah, it would, certainly.
And to be honest, I mean, we've all read the comic, but even having read the comic, I was still on the edge of my seat the entire episode, so I don't think I could ask for anything more than that. But we're going to get into the actual discussion of the episode a little bit later. We've got all kinds of fun stuff today. We've got some news about the series. We've got the winner of our contest with Media Junkyard to win all 6 Walking Dead hardcovers and some other great Walking Dead zombie prizes, and voicemails, all kinds of other fun stuff. So what do you say we get right into it, gentlemen?
How about some news to start things off? We had a couple of Walking Dead news items since we last recorded, and I think I'd like to lead with the Image Comics announcement that they're going to be reprinting all of the Walking Dead issues weekly starting in January.
Hang on a second. Let me look for my booing noise. Here we go. I'm sorry. I just think that's ridiculous.
Really?
Tell us why.
Okay. What's the only reason they would be doing that? Is it because the reading public can't get the comic any other way? Of course not. We've said before, it's in trade paperback format. It's in hardcover format. It's in ginormous compendium trade paperback format. It's in slipcase hardcover omnibus format. Do we really need a weekly?
It's even in day-and-date digital format now.
Do we need a reprint? Yeah, but that's new stuff. We're talking this old stuff. It's like, why bother to reprint it and waste trees and paper and whatnot in the age of greenosity when you can just go to Barnes & Noble and pick up the next. I think it's utterly ridiculous, and it's nothing but a money grab, and it makes me sick to my stomach.
Well,
Wow.
Let me add this, or ask you as an add-on. If, as a comic book collector, if you were missing the first 15 issues of The Walking Dead because you weren't buying it from the beginning and then it got way too expensive, would you buy the first 15 reprints now to fill in your collection?
As a comic book collector, no, because
They're reprints.
they're reprints. As a fan of the story who might want to one day create my own hardback binding of it, you know, as some of us have done in the past with some of our books, yeah, I might pick them up that way so I could have my own, you know, one of a kind hardcover, but really, what's the purpose they did it? It's only to make more money. Just whatever.
Yeah, I really have no problem with them doing it. I just don't see what the audience is.
The only thing I can think of is a lot of people have jumped onto this from trade, and I have that collecting mentality. So I started with trade. I'm sticking with trade, and I'm not going to go to the monthlies because I don't want a mix of monthly and trade, and I don't want to double dip. So I don't know if the thinking with this is if this is a way to get people to jump back on the monthly train and be able to go back and buy these issues to fill in their collection, so they can have. I mean, obviously, there's going to be reprints, but I imagine you could probably find the last 20 to 30, if not 40, issues of this series probably for at or near cover. I'm sure if you went on eBay and bought them in a lot, you could probably find them for a pretty decent price. So you can go back. I wish that they would be at a more affordable price point, given how many times they've reprinted these. I would like to have seen them at $1 or $1.50, because we did the math on it. I think a few days ago when the news broke, or the day the news broke, we all kind of emailed each other and figured out. It's like the trades are still going to be considerably cheaper, especially when you buy them on Amazon or get them through someplace like In Stock Trades or something like that. You'll be able to get the trades for considerably less than if you went to the comic shop every week and picked it up for $2.99. So that's my main gripe is the price point.
I think what they are hoping is that new fans from the show are going to find this and start picking it up every week, which I don't know that it's going to be that accessible, and I don't want to discourage anybody. I think anybody who ends up loving this show should take this opportunity to find these weekly reprints and check it out. And you might get hooked on the comic. You might get hooked on comics in general. But you're going to have to go to a comic shop. It's not going to be at your newsstand or the train station. And I think that's the problem that we all scream about as the comic book guys.
Yeah, definitely. I could see, again, to Brad's point a little bit, but if they were to put this in Target, Walmart, the newsstand, Barnes & Noble, and have these out there, I think it would make a little more sense, because I think, yeah, casually, you might have people that watch the show that would pick it up.
All right, so we have a couple of voicemails that I would like to get to because we have to move this along because we have a big premiere episode that we want to talk about, and we're all busting at the seams to do that.
And we don't want to fall asleep.
Yes.
Not to mention falling asleep.
Yes, please do not get too comfortable with the immediate release of the podcast. We're thinking we can keep this up for like the first 2 shows, and then we'll probably go on, I think, a Tuesday release schedule. Show comes out Sunday, we record Monday, get it out on Tuesday. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
That's about right.
Yeah, and what that will allow also is for us to play tweets and comments from people as they're watching the episode, and then we'll have those ready as we record. Tonight and next week, it's a little too hectic to get that done, so we're not going to read any tweets that are coming out as people are watching the show, but we hope to do that in the future.
I have a question. How would people get an email or a tweet or a voicemail to the Walking Dead TV podcast?
Well, Jordan, that is comments at walkingdeadtv.com for email, at WDTV podcast for Twitter, and 516-468-7912 if you'd like to leave a voicemail like this.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Renee, Dusty X from the forums, and I'm on Devil's Advocate. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for doing the show. It's a great way to introduce people to The Walking Dead, both TV show and the comic book. Having seen the first episode, I was amazed by how good it is. It is one of the best shows I've seen on TV, and we're just talking about the first episode. I'm a huge fan of the comic book. It's one of the comic books that got me back into comic books and gave me hope for comic books, because everything pretty much right now was really bad when it came out. But again, the show's excellent. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you for doing this. It was a lot of fun just listening to you guys kind of just talking about what we love. I like the changes. They didn't bother me. It was a little kind of weird seeing, characters that we've read about on the screen and live. But once you get used to it, it's really, really good. And I hope that this becomes a huge success for AMC and Robert Kirkman and everybody involved. But again, guys, keep up the good work. Have a good one. Bye.
Well, thanks to Renee. That's a member of the Devil's Advocates movie review podcast, good friends of ours. And what do you guys think about that? What do you think about seeing characters that you've been reading and you kind of make a voice in your head for them, and now they're out on the screen? Did you find it weird, or was it like any other comic book movie that you might see? Or
It didn't bother me too much. I mean, what I saw, I guess everybody lined up a little more closely. I guess Rick is not what I would have thought, but it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me at all.
I was really happy as it ended up with Rick. And he was an English guy. How's he going to do this? But it was almost like I was watching the comic book come to life. I thought it was really, really good.
All right, well, we're not going to gush too much on the first episode till we get into the summary. Thanks again to Renee, and I have another buddy of ours for our next voicemail.
Hey guys, this is Mike Campanella again. I'm calling because I'm listening to the last episode, and Jim said something that I just had to chime in on. I'm with you 100%. I cannot stand Lori. I'm watching the previews for it, and I'm saying to myself, well, I knew I had to include her, but at the same time, I did not want to see her. And it was wishful thinking to think that they would rewrite the part, but no, yeah, I'm with you. Lori. She just always acts very put upon. The zombie apocalypse is going on around her, and she's very put upon, and poor Lori, and we're all supposed to feel for her somehow, and it's very hard to feel for her because of all the things she's done without getting into anything spoilerish. But that's a character I can completely do without, and so I'm with you 100%, Jim. But she's there. She's a necessary evil in a world of zombies. She's a necessary evil. So all right, love the show, guys, and keep up the great work. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say about the first episode. All right, take it easy, guys.
All right, thanks to the Pamp again for another great voicemail. Well, I think the Lori hate sort of begins at the end of this episode for the TV watching fans, so maybe we will continue that conversation as we go. We are sorry Jim couldn't make it tonight. I'm sure he would like to respond to Pamp, but maybe next time.
So thank you guys for those voicemails. We'd love you to send some of your own so we can play them on our upcoming shows. So let us know what you thought about the pilot, what you thought about episode 2 as it comes up, and as all the episodes as they come out. You can also contact us, we forgot to mention before, forumforgeeks.com. That's forumforgeeks.com. It's the home of the Walking Dead Podcast Network. That's us, the Talking Dead, Walking Dead Cast, and Zombie Drill Podcast. Lost had a podcast network, but it wasn't really in one place. So we decided, let's put them all in one place. So if you like Walking Dead and you want as much information as you can possibly get about it, you can find it all in one place. So forumforgeeks.com, the home of the Walking Dead Podcast Network and Walking Dead TV Podcast.
What is this Lost show that you speak of?
I'm not really sure. I've never seen it, so I can't really say anything.
That would have been a great time for Brad to hit his little sound effect. Oh. Maybe next time. Continue.
But anyway, now that we've gone through our... Thank you, Brad. Now that we've gone through those responses, let's get into the actual episode discussion. Don't forget, guys, we got the contest winner coming up later on in the episode, so keep on listening for that. Brad, why don't you start us off with the rundown for episode 1, Days Gone By.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. We have the tease for the show. The show starts out with our, what's the word, protagonist? Is that the word?
That would be correct.
I was never an English major. Our protagonist, Rick, is looking for gas. He's walking through a mess. There are abandoned cars everywhere. He stumbles upon a gas station that has a sign hanging up that says out of gas. So at this point, he doesn't know what to do. So obviously, we kind of picked up the show after things have started. So this is a neat way to pick it up, I think. He's walking around. He's looking. He hears something. He turns around. He sees what appears to be a little girl walking through this mess. Sees her from behind as she's walking away from him. She's wearing a robe, wearing slippers. She's carrying a stuffed animal. He says something to her. Says, "Hey, little girl, it's gonna be okay, little girl." She slowly turns around to reveal that she's been zombified, and she starts coming towards him slowly, surely, as zombies do. He looks resigned to the fact he knows what he has to do. So he pulls out a pistol, shoots her in the head, shoots this little girl in the head. Boom. That's our tease. That's the way the show starts. What a way to start the show. I was floored when I saw this.
I was surprised they didn't cut away or anything. When the bullet hit her, you see the bullet hit, she falls to the ground, and blood's everywhere, and it's the beginning of The Walking Dead.
I thought that was a very bold choice to start the show. I'm curious as to how that's going to, what the mainstream is going to, think as we, over the next couple of days, we hear, reactions and stuff. I can imagine that some people might be a little, overly shocked because I guess I could even see where it wouldn't be as big of a deal if it was in the middle of the episode, but to start out that way, that's a bold choice.
Now, one of our listeners, Chris Moses, he wrote in with a couple thoughts that I'll sprinkle in throughout this recap. But one of them was, he says, I don't know why they had to begin the episode with killing a little girl zombie. Don't enough zombie movies begin with a similar scene? And the only one I could think of was the remake of Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead a few years back, but it didn't necessarily open directly with that, it just had a girl zombie in the beginning. Can you guys think of any others, or what do you think about that comment?
Well, I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but I would like to say that part of the reason that I liked it so much, the opening that is because of the next scene. They went with the typical zombie action horror movie opening, but then they go right into the personal relationship between the characters, which I'm not going to say anything else because Brad's going to get to that next. But that really showed me that this is the comic come to life. Because
so you enjoyed the tonal juxtaposition?
Absolutely. And the relationships are so important in the source material that they almost said, look, we're this, but we're also this. And they switched to this next dialogue bit that Brad's going to get to, I would imagine, momentarily.
Yeah, I just would like to point out, if you're going to start out a show that everybody knows is about zombies, if you had started the show with this next scene, I don't know, man. Somebody, why not hit the ground running instead of waiting 5 minutes to then see some action? I just think it's a good hook. It's a good way to keep people going. Holy crap! If that's how the show starts, what's the rest of it going to be like?
I couldn't agree with you more because while the next scene, and we'll talk about that when it comes up, but why it certainly fits more with the AMC tone, that character development, and it's certainly an important scene for the rest of the series going on. But why that certainly feels more like AMC's audience is very dedicated, but it's very small, so they need to be able to hook in the people who just see commercials or check out a podcast or see pictures online with that first scene, so that they'll stick through the next character development to get to some more zombie kills. So while it might be a little cliche to start off a zombie movie with a zombie kill, I think it's an important decision that they made, and I think they made the right choice in that case.
Then of course we'll see the open to the show, which we'll see every week. Name of the show, we see our characters, we see the actors' names.
How about that score, by the way? Love the Bear McCreary music behind that.
Yeah, it was really nice stuff. Yeah. And as a video editor, I really enjoyed the way the whole show is edited. I think it's really good. But the open really grabbed me. I thought it was awesome. So
and it definitely feels like AMC. It feels like Breaking Bad or Rubicon's open. Not so much Mad Men's, but it definitely feels like it was done by the same people who did Breaking Bad's theme and Rubicon's.
We're gonna visit Rick and his buddy Shane, his partner Shane, in the car. They're eating lunch, eating some burgers, talking about women. Shane's going on and on about this one girl. They end up eventually talking about Rick's relationship with his wife Lori. They sit there and talk about it. They're male bonding. Everybody needs some good male bonding. Then the call comes in. They got this scene, this crazy folks in the car. Everybody come to the scene. So they drive to the scene to set up a roadblock. They're waiting on the car, and there's this interesting thing that happens. All the sheriff's deputies are positioned, and they're pointing in, and one of them, they're just waiting for the car to come over the hill. One of them turns and says, "You think we'll end up on one of them shows?" And Rick says, "I think you need to, concentrate and pay attention to what's going on here. Make sure you got one in the chamber and your safety's off." So then here comes a car. Boom! They hit the roadblock. The car crashes, flips. The guys come out shooting. 2 guys come out shooting. We got how many sheriff's deputies were there? About 7 or 8,
at least, yeah,
something like that. Yeah, probably.
So 2 guys come out shooting. One's got a pistol. One's got I think the other one had a rifle or a shotgun. Rick gets tagged, but it hits his vest. Okay, so he's fine. By this time, the 2 guys have been taken out. Rick stands up, is turned around, he's got his back to the scene. A third guy climbs out of the vehicle and shoots Rick in the back. Falls to the ground. Shane comes running over. Hang on, buddy, you're gonna make it. Cool audio effect happening. The bird's eye view camera's pulling out, and we get the slow dip to white, and it dissolves to what I thought was this really awkward scene of a point of view shot, like you're Rick laying in the bed, you're looking up, you see Shane in the hospital room, he's got flowers, he's talking to Rick, Janie in the office picked these flowers out. It was really awkward, it made me uncomfortable. And then Rick, wakes up and he thinks Shane's still there, so he starts to talk to Shane. And he's like, where's Shane? Shane's not here. He looks over, he sees flowers on the nightstand. Flowers are dead. He touches the flowers, they fall off of the stems. He rolls out of bed and falls to the ground, calls for the nurse, no response. He eventually gets back up, makes it to the bathroom, splashes water on his face, and starts exploring the hospital, walks out in the hallway, and there's nobody here. This place is abandoned. The hallway's in disarray, junk everywhere. He walks by a door with a window, looks through the window and sees a dead body down the hall. There's blood on the walls, there's bullet holes in the walls. He eventually makes his way to the end of the hallway and he sees this door. It's chain closed with this, this huge chain and padlock, and somebody had scrawled on it, "Don't open, dead inside." And then something starts banging and pushing on the door from the inside, from the other side. He can't tell where it is, but he hears something, and all of a sudden the door's part a little bit as far as the chains will allow them, and this gray, creepy hand just starts poking through. And at this point, he realizes something's very wrong. He turns around and hightails it out. And I realize, guys, I'm very excited about this. I may be talking fast. If you got something to say, just jump in. I'm having a good time. You just recapping this whole thing. It's awesome.
It is awesome. I'd like to go back to the conversation that we kind of touched on earlier between Rick and Shane. He confides in Shane here. He mentions that him and his wife, does he call her Lori at this point? I'm going to screw this up all show.
I'm pretty sure that Shane refers to her by name. I think he says something like, "How's Lori?"
Yeah, what are Lori doing or something? Yeah.
So I'm not going to jump ahead too far, and we're going to get to more of this at the end of this episode. But they did a really nice job. Like you said, Brad, it was male bonding, but you really got the feel that these guys are best of friends. And then it's kind of reiterated when Rick goes down, and you get Shane's reaction to that, and you get Shane in the hospital with Rick. So I think they really did a good job of driving the point home that these guys are just like best of buddies.
And I know some people said that scene was the scene with them in the car was a bit slow and measured and deliberate. I think it's incredibly important, especially what we find out at the end of the episode. Going forward for those two characters, if you don't have that set up, there's almost no story there. You need to have that scene of exactly how close they are to be able to tear that apart eventually.
Yeah, I agree. It totally comes full circle later on.
It's almost like a Tarantino scene, where you get this, the show's about zombies. It's called The Walking Dead. We've got the teaser. And then we start with this long conversation, kind of almost a conversation about nothing that they have. And I mean, obviously they're cops, they're in the car, something's going to happen. But I was surprised, and again, this is why I thought of Tarantino, because I thought it went on kind of long. And that's not a criticism. I think in other shows, that scene would have either been cut very, very short or not been in there at all. So again, I think having Darabont have his hand in this, and obviously directing this episode, we get these cinematic. It felt very cinematic to me. I mean, was it me, or did you guys feel like you were watching a movie and not a TV show?
Oh, definitely. And I hope that it was a 67-minute long episode. They didn't have to cut away all so often.
I'd just like to jump in here and say that we're going to save our comic book comparisons and contrasting and stuff. We're going to save that mostly for in between seasons. I mean, this is only a 6-week run, and then we're going to have a lot of time to fill. So we'll probably talk a lot more about the book then. But I think here and there we're going to have to point some things out without spoiling anything. And one thing I'm going to point out here is the shot of the double doors don't open dead inside, dead on from the. You could pull it right off of the page of the comic.
Exactly.
The other, kind of on that point, the one thing I thought was cool was when Rick was initially shot, because I think it's no surprise that that's kind of how things started. Is he's put in the hospital and left there. That's not exactly spoiling anything. But the fact that he was shot, and those of us that read the book knew that was coming. So when he was shot, it hit in the vest, because when he initially was shot, you could tell he felt it and went down, and you couldn't tell if there was blood or not. So I thought that was kind of an interesting twist to where then he gets back up and he's like, "Oh, shot in the vest," and then they move on from there. I thought that was a nice little twist to just kind of throw off the comic readers to not just put it out there right in the front of it.
This episode was full of that. It's hard, like John said, it's hard not to compare the two. But the whole time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, well, that's in the comic, that's not in the comic, that's in the comic. And yeah, when he got shot that first time, I thought, okay, there it is. But then I was like, what? Him in the vest? What's going on? Boom! The third guy jumps out, shoots him in the back. So I think they're well aware of the fact that a lot of us geeks are going to be watching the show, and they're just trying to throw some curveball. And I really, really appreciate that. I think it's awesome.
And it's funny because I think the Walking Dead comic, as well as comics in general these days, are there's a vast trend of what we call decompressed storytelling, where in the old days, back in the 70s, 80s, 60s, Silver, Bronze Age, a lot of one and done stories in comics, a lot of stuff that would play out maybe over several issues. But nowadays things are pretty much written for these little nice 5-6 episode or issue packages, and things tend to take a long time. It's amazing that we're at this point maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes into the show, and all of this is happening. Or 15 minutes, like in the first 2 or 3 pages of the book. So I thought that was really, it's interesting. The show is even more decompressed than the comic, which in general is kind of in the trend of decompressed storytelling.
Moving on, Rick turns around. He doesn't like the creepy hand. He turns around. He finds a stairwell door with stairs. He opens it up. It's dark inside. Apparently, it smells pretty bad in there because it almost looks like he's about to vomit. Somewhere along the way, he grabbed some matches. I never saw that because maybe he's a magician or whatever. But anyway,
he reaches over the nurse's desk.
Yeah, he runs through a desk.
Okay, very good. I must have looked away right at that moment or something.
The creepy hand scared you?
Yes,
Brad's just really afraid of nurses' desks. It's an old story.
That too. We'll tell that story one day. Really cool lighting in the scene. He strikes a match, and that's the only source of light. Now, guys that work in the business like me obviously know how they lit that scene, but still, it looks so good to me. I just thought it was really, really well done.
The whole thing was uber creepy. I mean, the matches keep going out. He has to keep lighting them. There's those seconds in between where, I mean, we know even as a comic reader, they're changing stuff. A zombie could jump out at any time, and I was very chilled by that.
Yeah, it was very good. He eventually makes his way downstairs, finds the exit, walks outside, blinded by the brightness. Obviously, he's had his eyes closed for a month or so. We're assuming it's a month at this point. I think from the comic, we know it's been a while. We find out later in the comic that it's been quite a while. He walks downstairs to the loading docks, and he notices all these bodies neatly arranged and covered in white sheets. And he's walking slowly through there. He can tell he's still in pain, still recovering from his wound. He's holding his side. He walks out of the hospital grounds, off the side, gets to a hill, walks up the hill. When he crests this hill, he sees a helicopter and a bunch of abandoned cars. So obviously, there's been some action going on here, possibly some military support to come. A lot of stuff going on here. A lot of crazy just crap everywhere. And I mean, who expects to see a military helicopter there without people around it? Obviously something's happening here, something big. So he starts walking home, as we find out. He comes across a bicycle on the side of the road. He sees it. He goes to pick it up, and he sees half of a zombie laying in the grass.
But he doesn't know it's a zombie at this point.
No, he does not. And I think at this point we should point out that nowhere in this episode, and honestly, I think nowhere in the book is the word zombie ever used. Which to me, in the book, that's fine, okay. But in the TV show, you would think that they might say the word zombie because in our culture, zombies are such commonplace. That sounds weird to say they're commonplace, but I mean, you see where I'm coming from
It's
here?
kind of a zombie. Yeah. It's a genre rule that you don't say the word zombie in zombie movies. It's even kind of joked about in Shaun of the Dead. But for whatever reason, you almost never see that or hear that word spoken in a zombie movie.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it that way, but
I agree with you. Your logic makes sense.
When he starts to realize what's been going on, as he finds out later, you would halfway expect him to go, "Are you talking zombies here?" Something like that. Maybe that's just me and the way I would react. But anyway, he
Let's
sees
go back
this.
just a second to when he leaves the hospital. I mean, I've spoken in past episodes about the scope we had seen in some of the footage that had come out earlier. This is kind of the first part in this episode. Well, no, I take it back. The first place where we really see Scope is in the actual opening when he's walking through all the abandoned cars to try to find gas before he gets to the little girl zombie. But this is kind of the second one, and it's kind of this awesome. He already knows. He wakes up, nobody in the hospital room. It's just him. So something's wrong. He walks down to the hospital, and there's slowly more and more things that just aren't right. He leaves the hospital, and there's body upon body. He walks a little bit further, there's abandoned cars. He goes up a hill. There's a helicopter, a couple more abandoned cars. He goes up higher over the hill, and there's the helicopter's abandoned. There's blockades everywhere. There's a building with a giant, like almost exploding bomb section out of it. The scope, the slowly widening scope of the episode was just awesome. I just think it's so cool how they gradually build that organically and just let you see. And we'll see it again throughout the episode. But just here's a little thing that's messed up. Here's a bigger thing that's messed up. Oh my gosh, can you believe what is going on the screen right now? I love it. I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's definitely gradual, and you start to get verbal clues also that are very gradual. That something's not quite right here. As some of the things that some people say that we're getting ready to meet actually. So he sees the zombie girl, doesn't know it's a zombie. When this half a body moves, he freaks out. He sees this half a body from the waist up moving. He gets on the bike and gets out of there as soon as he can. So obviously he's ridden this bicycle all the way home. He gets out. He runs in as fast as he can into his house. Starts calling out Lori, Carl. He realizes nobody's there. They're gone. He breaks down. He starts crying. He's down on his hands and knees on the floor. He asks himself out loud. He's saying, "Is this real? Am I here?" He even hits himself in the head. He says, "Wake up, wake up." Okay, this is obviously really happening to him. He doesn't know what to do. He walks outside. He sits down on the edge of the sidewalk, and he sees this figure down the street walking towards him. Now at this point, he kind of puts his hand up, and I'm wondering, maybe he's waving at this, like, "Hey," or maybe he's shading, the bright glare of the sky out of his eyes. Probably the latter, but I like to think that he's almost waving at the guy, like, "Hey, there's somebody else. I see them. Hi, I'm not alone."
Yeah, that's how I took it. Actually, I think you're wrong with that one.
I thought that was really cool. It really struck me. Anyway, this distracts him from the fact that somebody's coming up from behind him and whacks him in the head with a shovel.
That scene still took me by surprise, even though I knew it was coming. It was awesome.
Yeah. So then we cut to the scene. There's this little black kid. And he says, "Dad, I got him. The dad comes running over. And I think the kid said something like, "I heard him say something." But I know the dad says, "Now, they don't talk." That's our first clue. That's our first verbal clue that somebody says that is tipping us off that something's different here. They don't talk. That stuck out to me. The man looks at Rick laying on the ground. He leans over and says, "What kind of wound is that?" And of course, Rick just got hit in the head, so he passes out. He wakes up to find himself inside a house with the people he just met in the front yard. And the man says, "I changed your bandages." And he says, "Did you get bit?" He says, "I didn't get bit. It was a gunshot." He checks Rick for fever. And eventually, we find out that this man's name is Morgan. We as comic readers know that from the book. As television viewers, you can find that out through the Internet Movie Database. This man's character's name is Morgan. And
His son credit as well.
Was it? His son's name is Dwayne. But Morgan actually says Dwayne's name later. Anyway,
Morgan is played by the awesome Lenny James, who you guys probably know from a lot of different TV shows. He was in the movie Snatch, but really good actor.
So I'll call him Morgan, and Dwayne is his son. He was tied to the bed. Morgan ties the ropes holding him to the bed and says, you can get up when you can. So he gets up later, he sits down to dinner with them, and he looks at Morgan and says, "You shot that man today." And Morgan says, "It was a walker, not a man. Do you even know what's going on?" He says, "I saw the dead bodies." And he goes, "No, I'm not talking about the ones that they put down. I'm talking about the dead ones that are walking, that are still alive. They come back to life, whatever." So he tells Rick kind of about what's been going on. Did they mention the city of Atlanta here? Like we heard on the media before the broadcast ended, they told people to start heading towards Atlanta. Was that at this point that?
I think that's later on. I think that's after the next scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought this was actually the only scene in the pilot that I thought the dialogue was pretty clunky in, and that was just in Morgan kind of grasping that Rick had no idea what was going on. I thought they could have done that better, but it's a minor complaint. Like I said, it's the only scene in the entire episode that I thought was anywhere poorly scripted.
Morgan tells Rick that he and his son have a little bet going, and Dwayne thinks he might be a bank robber. And Rick says, "No, I'm actually a sheriff's deputy." Then all of a sudden, the car alarm starts going off outside. Immediately, Morgan looks at Dwayne and says, "Kill the lights." Rick turns off a lantern. They get it as dark as possible in there. They peek through the blankets covering the windows, and they see all the zombies gathered around the car down the street. Rick says, "Should we do something about it?" He's like, "There's nothing we can do. We just got to sit here and wait." Then all of a sudden, Dwayne sees a woman walking across the yard. This black woman. Obviously, we know because he says she's here. This is another clue, obviously, that at this point I'm starting to think this has got to be his mom because he turns around, runs away, buries his face in the pillow, starts crying. This lady zombie walks up to the front porch, looks right in the peephole. I thought that was a really cool shot. Rick looks in the peephole from the inside, and she's staring right there in the peephole. She looks down at the door handle, starts to jiggle it. You can see it turning. They go sit down because there's nothing they can do. Morgan tells Rick about her getting sick and makes a comment about her being the mother of his child. And at this, he's wearing a wedding ring. So at this point, we obviously know that's his wife. That's Dwayne's mom. We see a shot of the doorknob turning slowly, and then we cut to a commercial. What do you guys think about all that?
Well, first off, I want to mention that the actress who plays Morgan's wife is the actress who plays Tara's mom on what's the show? True Blood, which is a show we've done a couple episodes on over on Legion of Dudes. It's kind of fun to see her back, even in just a tiny little role.
I'm glad it was a non-speaking role.
Yeah. Now Tara May.
I thought it kind of looked like her, but obviously they did her hair different, and obviously she was a zombie. But even in the photograph, it didn't look like her. I guess they maybe.
I should specify. I never looked this up. I was just pretty sure from looking at it was the same actor. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
She's been in some commercial that's been running a ton lately too. It's the insurance commercial where like all the people are helping each other, and she like stops some guy who's not paying attention from crossing the street.
Yeah,
It's real
yeah.
funny.
Is that her?
Yeah, it is.
Cool. Is it Allstate? Because it's the one that Dennis Haysbert does. The guy that played the president on the.
Yeah, it's Allstate.
Yeah,
That's Allstate, Stan.
Yeah.
We are in no way affiliated with Allstate or.
But we're not here to talk about insurance companies.
I thought this was interesting. Again, we get another, and again, we're not going to get in detail, but a deviation from the comic where a lot more characterization and a lot more development to get you to know these characters and kind of feel a little bit more sympathy for them and to just get to know them better. In the comic, they'll kind of quickly move over things just to kind of move the story along. So I appreciated the fact that they slowed it down a little bit again, and we got to to get to know these characters a little better. So it just wasn't a 5-second scene and then we're gone. I like that.
I love that they're keeping. This is a very small detail, but I really appreciate it. I love that they're keeping the ripple effect in here, meaning when that car alarm goes off, it's going to attract more zombies, and it's time to kill the lights and shut up and lay low because they're going to start. I believe they call it a herd later on in the books. But that small noise, if you fire a gun at the wrong time or make any commotion, it's going to attract the whole crowd of these, and there's an exponential kind of effect to it. I just love that element.
It's the long-term gradual consequences that are awesome.
So we have our commercial, then we come back to the show. It's daytime, obviously. They made it through the night. We have an establishment shot of the house from outside, and there's a zombie sitting on the sidewalk by the white picket fence. just sitting there doing nothing. Front door opens and Rick and company walk outside, and we hear Rick say, "You sure they're dead? I just need to make sure for myself." He's wearing this. It looks like what could be like considered a welding. It's in the same shape as a welder's mask, but it's just a see-through.
Yeah, my dad wears money like weed wax or
Yeah, it's like a see-through plexiglass face guard. He's got
Almost
a
like the ones you see on like medical examiners now when they have their shows.
Yeah. So he walks up to the zombie with a baseball bat and lays into him, kills one. So then they go to Rick's house. They walk through, notices clothes are gone, pictures are pulled off the wall, and he says they're alive. My wife and son are alive. I know it. You know, zombies wouldn't come in here and pull pictures off the wall. Wouldn't take clothes out of the drawers. And either Dwayne or Morgan says, well, they probably went to Atlanta. It's supposed to be safer there. That's when they told us. You know, they were telling us that at the time to go there, there were supposed to be safe places there. So he says, sounds good. They go to the sheriff's station where they enjoy a hot shower. I thought this was a really neat tension relieving scene.
Yeah.
I watched the premiere with some friends of mine who were over, and they pointed out the very astute notion that why are these characters walking in dark corners by themselves? Because there's a couple times where they like send each other away. Hey, can you go grab that for me? And it's like something is going to jump out. And obviously nothing did, but these people should watch more zombie movies. They know what to do.
Well, I think at this point we have to assume they cleared the station to make sure it was zombie free.
I guess so.
So they take a hot shower, and it's funny. Dwayne's dancing and singing.
Yeah.
Then they go to the armory. They load up on all the weapons. Rick gives Morgan a radio. Says, "I'll turn it on a few minutes a day every day at dawn. That's how you can find me." The zombie walks up to a fence, and it turns out it's Leon, the guy that at the beginning of the show says, "You think we'll get on one of them shows?" Well, he's
I think you said that wrong, but you think we're going to get on one of them shows?
right.
That's how when I remember.
So he even calls him by name. Oh, Leon, something I didn't catch the last name. Dwayne and Morgan turn and walk to their car. Zombie Leon is right up there on the fence. Rick pulls out his gun and shoots him.
And another scene where they don't cut away. You see the entire blood splatter. He slowly falls down that fence. You could never get away with this on network TV. I'm just floored by how much they got away with. It's awesome.
I'm very impressed with how real the gunshots to the head look.
Now,
They
I
just
read
put it down.
Yeah. I read some complaints online various places about the CGI blood. I didn't think it was the greatest, but it's no submarine on Lost. So what did you guys think? Good, bad, indifferent?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all.
I guess I have a somewhat lower expectation for television, and this definitely didn't. I didn't notice it. You know, like I noticed it on The Expendables, I guess, and I guess that was a movie. So I don't recall it looking that bad. So like I said, it didn't bother me.
It's also becoming so commonplace now. I mean, there aren't many action genre movies that don't go with the CGI blood, so I think we're just kind of getting used to it also.
Squibb is dead.
R.I.P. Squibb, 1945 to 2010.
It's going to get to the point where I forget which documentary I was watching the other day on one of my Blu-rays or whatever. And they were talking about fake water, fake fire, and obviously fake blood. And CGI water is still tough, but they were saying that they like to use CGI fire because, and especially when they need it to move up a wall or down a street or whatever, because people tend to think that the real fire looks fake and the CGI fire looks more real than what they use. So I wonder if eventually we'll get that way with blood splatter, where we'll find the CGI to look better than the real thing.
And with squibs, there's a problem that they're not allowed to put squibs on extras anymore. You have to use a stuntman. I don't remember if it was a Nick Carroll interview I saw or a Darabont interview, but because it is a small explosion going off, they have to use a stuntman. So it's just like for another reason you might not want to use real fire because it's dangerous. It's also dangerous to use a squib. So if it's financially feasible and if it's going to look just about as good, maybe the CGI version of a squib is better in that case.
One quick thing about the violence while we're on the subject. Do you think they get away with it because it's not human on, quote, human violence? Are they considering the zombies, a monster, so it's sci-fi violence? Or do you think
I think it's more the fact that it's AMC and not a broadcast network, but I'm sure that plays in a little bit.
Yeah, I think that tempers it quite a bit. I think if this was, like you're saying, John, average Joe A walks up to average Joe B and sticks a gun up to his head and blows him away, I think, yeah, the emotional tie and the emotional reaction to the viewer is a lot different than, oh, that person's, a zombie or, dead or a reanimated corpse or whatever you want to call it. I think that you can kind of disassociate yourself a lot with it. And I think that maybe helps it. I'm curious as to how that works for, I know it's cable and all, but how far can you really go before, anybody would come in? I guess they don't have to worry about censors per se. I guess they would have to be concerned with sponsorship, that if their sponsors objected to it too loudly, then they wouldn't, be able to sell commercials. But
yeah, there's no FCC problem with cable. It's just internal standards and practice. And like you said, who's going to pay for sponsorship? And there's plenty of companies, I'm sure, that have no problem with it. But there's sure going to be some that just say, hey, this isn't really something we go for. But apparently they've been able to find enough to get 6 episodes out. So, hey, good for them.
2 thoughts about this real quick, and then I'll move on. If the show follows the book, and we all know it's going to, sooner or later, we will see how AMC handles human-on-human violence. And,
even if they don't follow the book, we're going to see human-on-human violence eventually anyway, as long as there's people involved.
And as speaking as a human, I would much rather see human-on-zombie violence than human-on-human violence.
John, speaking as a zombie, what's your counterpoint?
Human-on-human violence has never bothered me. I enjoy movies such as Old Boy.
Oh, that movie's brutal.
And, it's just not the sort of thing that... And I'm not even like a horror fan. I mean, I don't enjoy movies like, say, Hostel or High Tension are two that come to mind. But it doesn't bother me. I'm good with it. Either way.
So what you're saying is you've been properly desensitized over the last decade or two.
That is correct.
Moving on, we get to probably one of my favorite parts of the episode. Rick and Morgan, they part ways, drive off separate ways. Then we follow both story parts here, but it's real quick shots of Rick intercut with shots of Morgan and Dwayne and home. And I really like how it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Some cool music in here too. Basically, Rick drives off to where he sees the bicycle girl, and Morgan and Dwayne drive back home. We see shots of Morgan and Dwayne reinforcing the house with more blankets and more 2x4s. We cut back to a shot of Rick walking through the park. We can tell he's looking for the bicycle girl because it deliberately shows a spot on the grass where he saw her the last time. Cut back to Morgan and Dwayne. Morgan says, "Read your comic books for a while, son. I'll be upstairs." Nice comic book plug for us geeks.
Yeah, can anybody tell what book it was? I couldn't tell from the vantage point we had.
I could not.
No, I looked. I can tell.
I bet you're invincible. We're science dog.
Morgan goes upstairs and he sets up a place by the window with his rifle. We can tell he's gonna start some target practice here in a bit. He starts looking at pictures of his wife. Obviously, still very sad about this. He picks the gun up and whistles at a zombie. Like John said, one noise is going to attract him. Whistles at the zombie. Zombie turns and he plugs the zombie right in the forehead. So he's training himself on the gun. Then he starts talking. He says, "Come on, baby. Come on, baby." And it turns out, do you guys think his wife walks up eventually? Walks up, the zombie wife walks up, looks right at the scope, but he can't shoot her. Do you think when he's saying, "Come on, baby," he's talking to himself like, "Man up, you can do this," or is he saying, "Come on, wife, I want to put you down because I know, this is no life to live. What do you guys think he meant by "come on, baby"?
I thought he meant the wife, that he was wanting her to come into his field of view.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, I can deal with that. But when she does, he can't do it. He can't do it. He cries. She walks away. So at this point in time, zombie wife is still alive.
Now, do you think we'll revisit the story ever because they left that point kind of dangling, or do you think that's where it ends?
It wouldn't surprise me if they came back to it.
Yeah, I think they will.
I'd definitely be happy to see those characters again. Like I said, Lenny James, great actor. The kid who played Wayne, he was definitely good as well. So if they ever want to bring them back in any capacity, which they could do in any number of ways, I think that'd be awesome.
I thought it was it was very powerful, that scene. I really thought after the first time he broke down that he was going to, kind of steel himself and pick up the gun and do it. And then he broke down again. And you want to talk about tension building? That was a great tension builder because everything in me said he's going to do it. That was great.
There's something very powerful and personal about that scene where if you, granted I'm not married or anything, but if you're a husband, if you have anybody you care about, and the question is, could I do this? By them not showing you whether he could, you're left to deal with that yourself. If they showed him shoot her, then you have a reaction to what he did. If they don't show it, you have a reaction to what you could or could not do. And I think that's very cool.
Yeah, the one thing as I was watching that scene play out, I was like, please don't show her actually being shot. Like if you're going to show this, show him, and then you'll hear the trigger pull and see his reaction. I did not. Of all the kill shots that you want to see because it's cool effects and cool makeup and stuff, I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see that kill because it was more important to see his reaction than hers.
Hey, real quick, I know we want to get back to the summary and keep this moving, but going back to the bicycle girl, did you guys feel that a good enough job was done, sort of explaining why he went back? Or maybe not why. There's really no there's really no specific reason.
Well, I was actually getting ready to address that.
Awesome.
In this back and forth intercut thing, this all ends up with Rick finding the girl, and he kneels down next to her and he looks at her and says, "I'm sorry this happened to you," and he shoots her. Now, I asked myself, John, why would he go back and do this? Why does this matter so much to him? And I think it's basically just because this is the first zombie that he ran across after he woke up, and not to mention she just looks absolutely pitiful.
I guess what confused me was the original scene, the first time he sees her. It really just came off that he was like scared and ran away. But then the reaction to go back and say that he's sorry, you're right, it does kind of show like a sense of pity or that he felt bad. But there really was no emotion the first time. He just kind of got the heck out of there.
Well, to be fair, he didn't know what it was. Now he's been brought up to speed by Morgan. So he has all the faculties he needs to actually deal with the situation.
I can live with that.
Yeah, I didn't feel that connection as much. Again, not to spoil too much, but we saw the same kind of thing going on in the book. I didn't see that connection closely tied in the show as I did in the book. And I just thought it was a really interesting character piece on Rick, though, because he's almost like genuinely curious about, he gets down on the ground and he's kind of looking at her and he's like studying and he's trying to figure out what, almost like, what does this mean? What's going on? What's this all about? It was just very strange, that he didn't have, like I said, he was like a little kid, like a curious little kid trying to figure out what's going on.
And I don't think it's spoiling anything by saying that, in the book he cries the first time he sees her.
Right, yeah,
and that's a pretty powerful moment. And then you totally understand why he went back and ended it for her. I think it missed the mark a little bit here. He didn't have that first reaction. It was more of a stare, and it changed the message a little bit.
Yeah, but then the very next thing he does, though, is go to his house and cry. So that scene might have been undermined if he was crying in the scene already going into it. I don't remember if there's anything in between those in the book.
No, there isn't. I don't believe there is. Go ahead.
I'm going to say, since I had the book with me, too, while I was watching, so I